Joining me now, Republican strategist Ford O'Connell and former advisor to President Bill Clinton, Simon Rosenberg. Ford, let me go to you first. Obstructionist, I think, doesn't really cover it, what the Democrats are doing, although I would argue, what else have they got? What's your thoughts? Let's start with your thoughts on what Nancy Pelosi just said.
Well, obviously, with the retirement of Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi's taken up the mantle as the Baghdad Bob on the left, and everything that comes out of her mouth is basically drivel, and she's got the green light to lie and name call all day. Here's what the Democrats have basically taken up. They've taken up the concept of maximal childish resistance to the detriment of the American people, and if they continue these outlandish shenanigans on Capitol Hill, they're going to pay the price at the ballot box in 2018 because there's 10 Democratic senators up in states that Donald Trump won. Either they can play ball and do the business of the American people, or they can continue to lose at the ballot box. It's really their choice. Well,
Simon Rosenberg, what do you say to that? I mean, this isn't very constructive. I'm sure you would argue, well, the Republicans would do the same thing if it was the other way around. But is this really doing Democrats any good at all?
I think, look, I have a slightly different take, not a big surprise. I think the Democrats have been very focused on a handful of things. They've not opposed every, Rex Tillerson just became Secretary of State. I mean, other cabinet officials have gone through. What happened in the last couple of days was that two of the cabinet officials that the Democrats tried to block yesterday both lied to the committee, right? And traditionally, if you lie to a committee under oath, you don't get to become a cabinet secretary in past times. So these were serious objections and concerns they had about specific cabinet officials. I think that's our obligation to the American people to make sure that the cabinet officials who are going to serve the American people are telling the truth.
Let me just say this. Hang on. Yeah. Simon, when you say they lie, are you just saying they weren't given all the information? There's a difference.
No, I think Steve Mnuchin said in a meeting with staff that what he had provided was untrue, right? And he said that himself. And we know that Tom Price has lied, and it's very likely that he's actually a crook as well.
Let me say one thing, Simon.
Yeah,
not since 1933 has a presidential cabinet been slow-crawled like what the Democrats are doing to Donald Trump's cabinet. You got to understand, there's 15 secretaries. We've only approved 4. This has never happened. And not only that, you have to understand something else. The Republicans, thanks to Harry Reid, have the numbers. There is no way you can stop any cabinet member unless the Republicans do it internally. So all of what Simon is talking about in 1 or 2 cases may actually be true, but that does not excuse the fact that the other 12 members of that are secretaries are not up there right now.
All right, let me change the discussion just a little bit. Hang on. Listen, Simon, I wanted to talk about what happened at UC Berkeley a little bit. We're going to get into that, too, later on in the show. But I just want to say there's this air out there. If you support Donald Trump, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a xenophobic, you're everything under the sun. And if you get someone who wants to speak pro-Donald Trump, you get the events that you saw in UC Berkeley overnight. There's a tremendous aggression out there. I thought the liberals were supposed to be the friendly ones.
Well, look, I think there's disquiet in the country. There's no doubt about that. And certainly we can't, this was we've had 2 events now where hostile forces who are not the students on campus came onto the campus and hijacked this event last night. But look, there's going to be very intense and spirited debate, and I hope, my hope is that where Democrats stand our ground is on making sure we protect our democracy, that we ask for rule of law and for democratic norms not to be trampled like the Republicans are trampling right now, and to speak to our inner patriotism as opposed to being partisans. I don't think Democrats are opposing Donald Trump or Milo, right, Yiannopoulos, because we're partisans, but because we're concerned about the future of the country. And I think there's going to be significant opposition. Look, Donald Trump is the first president in his first year in office to be over 50% negative rating in modern polling history. There is a lot of opposition to him in this country, even among people who voted for him.
Well, a loud opposition, but when you talk about debate, we can't have debates like we would have had at Berkeley because they, to use your term about Donald Trump, they were stamped on, those that wanted to hear what the speaker had to say. Ford, have you ever seen aggression like this? There's always 2 sides to every debate. I get that. But by God, if you say anything that's even considered pro-President Trump, you can get shouted down, you can get all sorts of things done. Friendships, dinner parties are being ruined. It's a very aggressive atmosphere out there.
Well, welcome to the modern era of civil discourse, courtesy of the left. They basically combat free speech with fascism while claiming to be against fascism. And when they don't get their way at the ballot box, they burn down the place and they intimidate everyone until they do get their way. This is how Democrats work. The biggest myth out there is the tolerance of the Democratic Party. They are the most intolerant bunch of people over the last 8 years that we've ever witnessed in terms of civil discourse. All
right, we'll have to leave it right. We could get into this, and there's a never-ending debate. But gentlemen, Ford and Simon, thank you very much. Really.